Okay, you're watching this Friday edition of Stop the Steal TV. Lots of stuff going on around the country, lots of stuff going on here in New York where I am, down in Philly where my next guest is. Michael Johns joins us right now. He's a conservative commentator. He's one of the co-founders of the Tea Party movement, speechwriter for George H.W. Bush. And Mike, I know we've been talking offline a lot, and since I think we spoke last a day and a half ago, it seems like the temperature's rising, and I know you told me that this feels like a time when you got a whole bunch of patriots to rise up and start a movement that changed the dialogue, the Tea Party time. How does this compare to then?
There are a lot of commonalities. I think in some ways this is more serious because, we did, for better or worse, obviously for worse, we did in fact lose the 2008 election. I never disputed the outcome of that election. I never felt John McCain, had quietly won it. I felt we had lost the battle of ideas, and I thought Obama had misled the country about the radical nature of his politics. And the same with the House, Senate, and obviously the federal courts were in the hands of the left. So you had, I'm going to put a ballpark number of about 30 or 40 million Americans at that point, JT, who were desperately seeking an outlet to do something constructive for their country that did not like the direction of it. And certainly we're not getting any opportunity to do that through the Republican Party or any of these DC-based organizations that have become slowly more and more integrated with swamp stuff. So that really blossomed and took off precisely because it was a supply and demand dynamic. We offered an opportunity for individuals to do hugely constructive things. And what we proved, which is a historic political lesson, is that the American patriots who unite around concrete and realistic but important objectives can do just about anything. And I think that's exactly what's required now. I know you believe that. And your leadership, in my judgment, can also prove historic because there are a few things that I'm not seeing right now in this current moment that you would expect in typical leadership. One is a recognition, just simply, whatever your political orientation or even how you voted, of the magnitude of the allegations that are now more than allegations. These are in affidavits under penalty of accountability for misrepresenting those. They're clearly demonstrated in facts that are emerging in court cases. And while the win-loss ratio in courts is probably a losing one, a good number of these pleas have proven successful. So for instance, if right now your position, which this is the position of mainstream media in America and in the world right now, is that there was no demonstrable voter fraud in the 2020 presidential election. Okay, despite the fact that we have had courts, take just Philadelphia as an example, who acknowledged that the access that is legally required to poll watchers was being denied. And there's the list of those examples go on and on. So we're beyond this point that they were really adamant about this in the first few days following the election, that nothing happened, don't look here, right? And they spent months telling us, don't bother looking. We already are telling you there won't be any fraud. Like how they would possibly know that, right? I mean, it's absurd to be saying that prospectively back in September and October.
No doubt. Hey, Mike, let me ask you this. I was talking about this a little earlier, but I think we're almost in bizarro land that the more the news tells us something isn't happening, I think many people in America now automatically start thinking, oh, no, that must be true, because they don't, it's almost like they're giving us the news, but backwards.
Yeah, that's a very right on target observation. And you can see it in the reporting on the legal team's allegations. So they're out there yesterday. In my judgment, that was a very important and largely successful press conference with information that if you are even a little bit concerned about the future of your country, you better glue into and absorb and ponder what you think about it and whether you're okay with those allegations and whether you're okay with that kind of thing happening in the country. But when you look at the reporting on it, and you take the phrase "say voter fraud," it's always preceded by some disparaging adjective like unsubstantiated, baseless, groundless, conspiracy-minded, Trump's last-ditch desperation. That is not what the facts do not match the reporting we're getting on this.
No.
The facts have already demonstrated that there has been coordinated nationwide electoral fraud in a huge number of states. The most damaging allegation and the most frightening allegation, in my judgment, has to do with the fact that somewhere along the lines, well, I suppose our purported leaders were sleeping, 30 states and 2,000 jurisdictions had to look around and choose an electoral voting system and said, yeah, this Dominion one looks like the best option available, when there were reports all over the place, easily available to anyone, about the susceptibility it had to foreign or domestic manipulation and interference. And including in, very prominently, the state of Texas, to its great credit, was asked 3 separate times by Dominion to adopt this system in Texas. They rejected it 3 times, but they didn't just do that. They rejected it and issued public reports from their technicians about how dangerous this system was and how, essentially, here's the warning. Louisiana looked at it, same conclusion. The city of Philadelphia, corrupt as it may be politically, came to that conclusion. And worldwide, we've had, criminal cases and nothing but fraud, controversy, and warnings about Dominion systems. And yet, Dominion systems and its component companies, which are even more dangerous, including
Smartmatic,
very closely attached to Hugo Chavez's electoral rigging and electoral rigging worldwide, were adopted in like about a third of this country's electoral jurisdictions. And you saw all sorts of questions now emerge, and there's a demand, in my judgment, we have to have this position that those people who made those decisions need to be held accountable.
Yeah,
they should immediately be terminated. That to me is like, but I haven't seen even one case of that happen yet. That's indisputable. They need to be the subject of criminal investigations. They need to be investigated, and we need to unify around this legal team: Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, a good number of other competent individuals who are trying to, let me just be blunt about it, preserve representative democracy in this country. And we need to understand that, sadly, a lot of our institutions have just slipped away from us. We cannot rely on them to handle these things objectively, reliably, or in the public interest, or in a commitment to our constitutional founding values. But we have a track record of being able to overcome all of that, and we can do it now if we're united, if we're strategic, if we have clearly defined goals, and if we are relentless.
I think a lot of people are asking me, we got a big grassroots movement. Following on social has been blowing up lately because people want to hear the truth. And they ask, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? Can you put together a plan on how maybe we can organize and motivate some of these people and realize that there are still things to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So you and I are going to hopefully have some real detailed information to share with people soon.
Yep.
And I think I really want to emphasize that the biggest deficiency in this movement has been a leadership crisis, and that leadership crisis has been one of failure to recognize that any political or public policy initiative that is not done in a collaborative, unifying way is prone to failure and defeat. And even the very situation we find ourselves in is a product of that kind of mindset. So we're not going to get there with each individual, capable as they be. Look, I can't fix this on my own. You can't fix it on your own.
Nope.
Even though I think we have a very crystal clear understanding of the facts and the methodologies that need to be employed to resolve it, it's so big.
We need help.
And it's bigger than this legal team as well.
No doubt.
So it's got to be everyone engaged. They clearly should be, following you, following me, And then we make our commitment that we're going to be straight up with the American people about what's at stake, and we're going to provide the most thoughtful and strategic opportunities for them to get engaged in supporting and defending this country's founding principles at a critical moment, so that they can prove effective in contributing to hopefully a positive outcome.
Okay.
Which I think at this point is we have a real uphill battle here ahead of us.
All right. Mike, thank you so much. You can check out Michael on America Out Loud. Great podcast happening there. You got to follow him on all social to keep up with what's happening. And hopefully in the next week or so, Michael and I will have some big news for you and many like you who want to make sure we stop the steal. Mike, thank you very much.
Thank you, JT. Talk soon.
All right. Michael Johns, co-founder of the Tea Party, my good friend. And this guy calls it like he sees it. And he's one of the most honest guys out there. So for all you haters in the message stream telling me that I'm talking gibberish, I'm not. And I'm trying really hard to keep this show and our mission and our message on track, that we're talking about real stuff and let the people decide. And most of the people I know, they're deciding that they don't like what they see and they don't like what they smell. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back with some more Liquid Lunch. My good friend Barry Goldsmith's here. He's going to crack you up. And then we are going to raffle off another special edition Liquid Lunch t-shirt right after this.